Hi, I'm going to give you my tips on how to pass your topographical test. Hi, I'm Cabby007. I recently just passed my topographical test with an 84% pass rate. I'm going to give you my tips on this video. It's quite a long video. Make sure you stick to the end and I can give you some more tips near the end.
Module 1. Map Reading Basics. The key to passing the test is being able to use the Master Atlas of Greater London efficiently and confidently. Learning outcomes for Module 1. Using the index, looking up page numbers, looking up grid references and locating points of interest. Using the index. The index can be found in the blue pages at the back of the book and is arranged alphabetically. The index is an essential resource to passing the topographical assessment. In this module, you will need to find grid references and page numbers of locations in the Master Atlas of Greater London. Let's learn a little more about the index. Index tips. Many streets have the same name, so be sure to identify the correct one. Map references for entries that appear on large-scale pages are shown first, with the small-scale map references shown in brackets. Use the references in brackets for Module 1. Selected places of interest are in red, such as golf courses, stadiums, fitness clubs. Names with the are indexed under the main name, such as Shard, comma, then the. Index guide. This is required in all modules, so be sure to correctly identify the street name or place of interest, postcode, page and grid references. Streets are followed by their postcode and then by their grid reference and page number, so the page number will be in bold. Hospitals and healthcare facilities. You will be asked to find hospitals in your assessment. There is a dedicated section for hospitals. This is after the main index, which includes all the street addresses. This page begins from page 426 and it goes on till 430. Train stations. You will be asked to find train stations in your assessment. There is a specific train station section, which is after the hospital and healthcare section. This is from pages 431 to 433. Example question. For Parliament Street, London, write down the page number and grid reference. Step 1. Open the A to Z to the index, located at the back of the book. Step 2. Find the location you are looking for. They are listed in alphabetical order. Step 3. In this example, Parliament Street has a grid reference of 2F and 47 MB and a page number of 229 and page 90. Let's review the learning outcomes for Module 1. In Module 1, you'll be asked to look for 5 locations. These may be hospitals, train stations, street names and points of interest. Remember, those points of interest are in red. There are specific sections for hospitals and train stations in the index. If a postcode is given, there is more than one in the index page, so make sure to identify the correct one. If you are given 2 sets of map references, always use the ones in the brackets. Now we know how to use the index for Module 1. Let's progress to Module 2.
Okay, so the first tip I have for you is to write what you see. The A to Z is in front of you at all times during the test, so everything you need is in front of you. When you get on Module 1, when you get a grid reference and a page and you have to write it down, when you see 2 numbers like this example on the screen here, make sure you write them both down. So on Parliament Street SW1, you would write 2F and then bracket 47NB, and then you'd write down the page number as 229 and then bracket 90. Always make sure that if there's double grid references, the larger grid reference, the 2292F, that is for the central London, and that will make your life easier when you're trying to plan your route. So make sure when you write down these grid references, you use the larger grid reference when you go into central London, so it's easier to see the street.
Module 2 of the Topographical Skills Assessment will test your ability to select a short route between 2 locations. As in Module 1, this includes using the index, looking up page numbers, looking up grid references, and locating points of interest. And for Module 2, you'll be planning a short distance route of up to 5 miles. You'll use the index to find the start location and the end location, and then identify these on the pages of the map. You'll have to list every single road you take in the correct order, using left, right, and forward to indicate the direction travelled. Any exits on roundabouts also have to be listed, and there will be further questions asking you to identify what is the closest station to the start point and end point of your journey. Module 2. Let's run through an example question. Planning a route between Tooting Bec Underground and Clapham North Underground. Step 1. Turn to the index to find our starting point, Tooting Bec Underground. In this example, our starting point is a train station, so this will be listed in the train station section of the index, listed on page 431. Once we have these details, write down the page number and the grid square reference. Page 134 and 62JB. Step 2. Identify the end location of Clapham North Underground. Once again, this will be in the train station section of the index. Once we have Clapham North Underground, write down the page number and the grid square reference. Page 112 and grid square 55NB. We can now identify both our starting point and end point by turning to the page numbers and using the grid square references to locate these points. Before we start planning our route, we have to understand how to use page continuation symbols. These symbols indicate the next page we need to turn to if the road we are travelling on heads off the page. These blue rectangular boxes located in the middle bottom of the page, side of the page in the middle, and top of the page in the middle direct you to the page number to turn to continue your route. We can now turn to the inside cover. This page is useful for plotting your journeys, as it shows us the exact page numbers we need to travel on along our route and what direction we need to head in. We locate the boxes with the matching page numbers for our starting and end locations, so pages 134 and 112. As you can see from the inside cover, we are heading in a north direction and are travelling from pages 134 to 112. On your route, you may travel along one-way road systems. Make sure to look out for the one-way symbol, which is a red arrow indicating the one-way system and indicating the direction of traffic. We now turn to the page of the map that contains Tooting Bec Underground, our starting point. On page 134, we look for the grid square of 62JB. We start our journey by writing start at Tooting Bec Underground. We then write forward Balham High Road. By using the page continuation symbol, we can continue the route, and as we come off the page at the grid square of JB, we can pick up the road on page 112 at the grid square of JB. Next, we turn to page 112. And we would then write forward Balham Hill, forward Clapham Common, south side, forward Clapham High Street, and finish at Clapham North Underground. Once you have completed your route selection, you will need to list the closest station to the start and end point. This cannot be the actual stations you start or end your journeys on. I will now show you the reference page, which will help you identify the symbols for stations. These include Crossrail, National Railway Network, Docklands, Light Railway, Overground and Underground. The closest station will always be on the same page, and to correctly identify which is the closest station, put your finger on the starting point and circle the radius until you are able to identify one of the train station symbols listed on the reference page. Now that you know how to plan a local route selection, let's progress to Module 3, where I will show you how to plan a medium distance route selection.
Module 2. How to write a route. You always have a start location and a finish location. So in this example, you'd have a start Parliament Street, SW1, and then finish, say for instance, will be Clapham Common Station. So you always make sure that you get your start location with your grid and page number, and then your finish location with your grid and page number, and that way you know where you're starting and where you're going to. And as you go forward, left or right, that's when you put your street names down. So it would be forward, say for instance, forward City Road, left Old Street, for example. When you hit a roundabout, you have to put RB, and then you have to put down what exit you're coming off of. So if it's the first, second or third exit, you write it down. So you say RB, first exit, City Road, for example. And always make sure you always write down the last street, the last destination as your finish. So you've got your start, your finish, your grid and your page numbers.
Module 3 of the Topographical Skills Assessment will test your ability to select a medium distance route between two locations. As in Module 1, this includes using the index and looking up page numbers and looking up grid references. For Module 3, you'll be planning a medium distance route of up to 15 miles. You'll use the index to find the start location and the end location, and then identify these on the pages of the map. You'll have to list every single road you take in the correct order, using left, right and forward to indicate the direction travelled. Any exits on roundabouts also have to be listed. This module will assess your ability to plan and write a route between the two locations and answer questions relating to that route. These additional questions will be based on postcodes, area names and stations. Module 3 example question. Planning and writing a route between Limehouse Rail and DLR and Whittington Hospital. Step 1. Turn to the index to find our starting point, Limehouse Rail and DLR. In this example, our starting point is a train station, so this will be listed in the train station section of the index, listed on page 431. Once we have these details, write down the page number and the grid square reference. So page 92 and the grid square reference of 44AC. Step 2. Identify the end location of Whittington Hospital. As this is a hospital, it will be listed in the hospital section of the index on page 426. Once we have found Whittington Hospital, write down the page number and the grid square reference. So page 70 and the grid square reference of 33LB. We now then turn to the inside cover. This page is useful as it shows us the exact page numbers we need to travel along our route and what direction we need to head in. We locate the boxes with the matching page numbers of our starting and end locations. So pages 92 and 70. We can see here we will need to travel in a northwest direction from our starting point to our end point. Bearing in mind you will not be able to travel diagonally. So you'll first need to travel to page 91. Once you have reached 91, you will then need to travel up to 71, and from there travel west to page 70. As you can see, we have mapped out the general route. So now we can turn to the page of the map that contains Limehouse Rail, our starting point. So once again, that's page 92 and the grid square reference of 44AC. We start our journeys by writing start at Limehouse DLR and rail, and then write forward on Commercial Road. By using the page continuation symbol as we come off the page at the grid square of 44, we can pick up the road at the grid square of 44 on page 91. We can turn to page 91 to continue our route. On page 91, we write forward on Commercial Road. Left on Whitechapel High Street. Forward on Whitechapel High Street. Right on Commercial Street. Forward on Commercial Street. Forward on Great East Street. Left on Old Street. And then forward on Old Street. Now we have come to a roundabout. We have to write roundabout exit 3. And then forward onto City Road. This takes us to the border of page 71, grid square RB. Now let's continue our journey on page 71 and look for the grid square of RB. At this point we're on City Road. But we must avoid driving down the one-way road system on City Road. We do this by writing left on Wakeley Street, forward on Wakeley Street, right Goswell Road, forward Goswell Road, right Islington High Street, forward Islington High Street, left Liverpool Road, forward Liverpool Road, left Holloway Road, forward Holloway Road, right St John's Way, forward St John's Way, left Archway Road, forward Archway Road, left Tollhouse Way, forward Tollhouse Way, right Highgate Hill, forward Highgate Hill, and then finish at Whittington Hospital. After planning and writing down the route, we now answer questions about postcodes and areas, and stations. The first question is, what two postcodes do you drive through along your route that aren't your starting or end postcodes? These postcodes can be identified by the blue bold font they are written in. They will always be either in the same grid square or the next one along from the roads you have travelled on. In this example, E1 would be an acceptable postcode. The next question is to list areas you drive through along your route. These areas can be identified by the black bold font they are written in, and by the fact they aren't written directly on roads, but have their own space. And these areas will always be in the same grid square or the next one along from the roads you have travelled on. In this example, you can see Stepney and Shadwell. The final question for Module 3 covers what stations are closest to your starting point and your end point. If you now turn to page 92 and locate the closest station to Limehouse, that would actually be West Ferry DLR. If we now turn to page 70 and locate the closest station to Whittington Hospital, that would be Archway Station. Remember, start in the correct location, follow the route logically in the atlas, do not skip any road or street names, and finish in the correct location. Now that you have learnt Module 3, it is time to move on to Module 4.
Okay, so this is the Module 3 tip that I've got for you. But also, please do double check this when you do go for your test. This is what was told to me. I got an 84% pass rate, so just double check when you go for your topographical test that this is correct. But this is what was told to me. For example, here, Commercial Street, you turn right into Commercial Street. You don't then need to write forward Commercial Street, because you've already turned right into Commercial Street. You only need then to give your next direction, which will be forward Great Eastern Street. And it's the same example here as well. When you say forward Old Street and you say RB, you hit a roundabout, you need to say third exit, exit City Road. You then don't need to say forward City Road, because you've said exit City Road. You can then take the next direction, which is left Wakely Street. Now this is what was told to me, because the video you just watched is supposed to be out of date on this. This was updated recently, but like I say, always double check, and so next time you go for your topographical test, just double check, do you need to say forward twice after turning right or left, or when exiting a roundabout, do you need to say forward again? I was told not, so just please double check that. On this tip, on this route, you'll see as you get into Archway, the streets, even if you have a magnifying glass, are really hard to see. Make sure when you choose a route, you choose an easy route that you can see on the map, and it's quite easy. Doesn't matter if it's a longer way around slightly, it doesn't matter, as long as it's a logical route and you can see the street names. If you find yourself on a route and you can't actually see the streets, make sure choose a different route, make it easier for yourself. Also, when you're in central London, make sure you're using those bigger grid numbers and using those central London pages so that the page is a lot bigger and it's easier to see.
Module 4, Long Distance Route Selection. Module 4 is a long distance route of up to 30 miles. This means travelling over multiple pages of the atlas and may require the use of a motorway. We will run through an example question of Commercial Road to Sevenoaks. You will use the index to find the start and the end location, then identify these on the pages of the map. You will have to list every single road you take in the correct order, using left, right and forward to indicate the direction travelled. Any exits and roundabouts also have to be listed, and you will have to use page continuation symbols. This module will assess your ability to plan and write a route between those two locations. Module 4, example question. Step 1. We then turn to the index and find our starting point and our end point of Commercial Road. We have already done this for you, so the details are page number 91 and grid square 44 WB. Identify the end location of Sevenoaks. This is an area which is located in the street section of the index and is coloured in blue. Once we have Sevenoaks, write down the page number 203 and the grid square of 97 kd. Now we turn to the inside cover, using it as in Module 2 and 3 to plot our journey and show us the exact page numbers we need to land on along our route. So, we locate the boxes with the matching page numbers that are starting our endpoint. So box 91 and box 203. Looking at box 203, where Sevenoaks is located, we can see that there is a motorway. This is the M25. We need to trace this M25 to its source. By doing this, we can see the M25 starts at box 141. Now that we know this, we can plan our route to box 141. And from there, we would enter the M25 and take that straight to Sevenoaks. We now turn to our starting location of Commercial Road on page 91 at the grid square of 44 WB. From page 91 we need to travel to page 92. We start our journeys by writing start at Commercial Road, then write forward Commercial Road. We use the page continuation symbol to take us to page 92. We now continue our journey on page 92. We would write forward Commercial Road, forward East India Dock Road, left Brunswick Road, forward Brunswick Road, left Blackwall Tunnel Southern Approach, forward Blackwall Tunnel Southern Approach. We now use the page continuation symbol that takes us to page 115. We then write forward Rochester Way Relief Road, then use the page continuation symbol to turn to page 116. We continue along Rochester Way Relief Road and use the page continuation symbol to take us to page 118. We would then write forward Dartford Bypass. As you can see, this takes us off the bottom of the page, and we use the page continuation symbol to turn to page 140. On page 140 we continue our journey. As we have reached a roundabout, we will need to state which exit we will be taking on the roundabout. In this example, it's exit 3. After this, we will write forward M25 junction 2. Now that we've reached the M25, we will turn back to the inside cover. All you need to do now is head south on the M25 and finish by exiting at junction 5 for Sevenoaks. Remember, to start in the correct location, follow the route logically in the atlas, do not skip any road or street names, and finish in the correct location. Let's now finish off with Module 5.
Module 4 tip, and this is also a tip for modules 2, 3 and 4. When you start doing your start location, your end location, write down the page numbers for your start and finish. So in this example, in that last video, was 91 and 202, and then go to the front of the A to Z and then work out what grids you need to go across to get to your location, and then write them down on the test paper. You'll have at the back of the test paper, you have an area we can write notes down. That is the area we can go through and write down your route. That way you're not looking for page numbers. Also, on the test, you'll be given little note leaves that you can put in the A to Z and make it easier for yourself. So on this example, you'd write down 91, 92, 93, 115, 116, 117, 118, 140, 141, 163, 162, 182, 202. These page numbers are not part of the test. This is just for you to make it easier for yourself while you're in the test. Do not write these page numbers in the actual test paper itself. You just write these are in the back of the page of the test paper, where you have notes you can write down. Just write it down to make it easier for yourself, and this will speed up your time. You only have 2 hours. 2 hours is plenty enough. It only took me 1 hour and 15 to do mine. I was the first one to leave, so it's not hard. Just take your time, and by little tips like this can speed up the process.
Module 5. This module tests your general topographical knowledge. In this module, you will be asked to name all the points of a compass direction to certain areas, motorways that cross into the M25, choose the most appropriate final motorway to reach a particular area, and finally list 5 neighbouring counties of Greater London. You will only need to use the index and inside cover to complete this module. Using compass directions. First question will ask you to list all the points on a compass. These include northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. Next, you'll be asked to state the compass direction you will need to travel from central London to reach a particular area. The way to answer this question would be to first identify the location in the index and obtain the page number. Then look for the page number in the inside cover. This way, it will be much easier to identify the location. Here are a few examples. The next question is fairly simple. The M25 is a motorway that surrounds Greater London and all you need to do is list down the motorways that cross the M25. Let's move on. Now you would need to state the final motorway and junction number to certain areas. For example, final motorway to Chorleywood would be the M25 and junction 18. Final motorway to Brentwood would be the M25 and junction 28. And the last example, final motorway to Reigate would be the M25 and junction 8. And finally, for Module 5, you will need to list the 5 neighbouring counties of Greater London. These can be found in the inside cover written in red writing with one extra coloured in blue.
So for Module 5, the tip for Module 5 is know your compass. Know your compass direction. Not covered in these videos because it's new, what's been added recently, is that you'll be given 2 fictional maps. The first map will ask you a correct route. It'll give you a list of the 4 routes on a map and it'll ask you to pick the correct route. Make sure you check the route on the fictional map and choose A, B, C or D, which route that will be. Make sure you look at it carefully and make sure the streets are all in the correct order, because it will show you a street that is closed and ask you to take a certain direction. Modules 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 5 is on the test paper. It's in those order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But I suggest to you, when you actually take the test, you need a pass mark of 60. There's 100 available. You can make mistakes and drop a mark here and there. If you make a mistake on, say, Module 5, you won't lose the whole 19. You'll lose a mark. So, say for instance, you make a mistake in Module 5, you made 1 mistake, you'll get 18 marks instead of 19 marks. So make sure you try and hit the maximum points or marks. So what you should do is do number 3 first. So 3, 4, 2, 5, 1. Do it in that order. That way, if you haven't got time at the end, you've hit the maximum you can on the way. You should be hitting it within the 2 hours, but just in case, do it in that order and you're going for the most marks. Okay, you've completed now the videos 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Now let's put that to the test. This is a mock. It's not quite as good as doing the real thing, but this will give you a heads up. I'll put a link down below to this website. You put your email address in, you put your first and last name in, and then you can go into and take the mock test. Okay, once you've entered those details, you go in and you can take the Topographical revision portal. This is provided by Uber, by signing up this, you don't have to join Uber. This is just a free link that they give out that you can go and do the test. You can't continue on each module until you've completed the module, so make sure you get it right. So that's a good thing about it. If you make a mistake, it'll make you do it again. Once you've done all these modules, then we can move on to the next step. Okay, so you've done the videos 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. You've done the mock test, you've passed, you've done all that. Now if you wish, and I suggest you do, use Uber. It's free. You can go along to their training and do a beginner's class and an advanced class. If you've been born in the UK and you have command of the English language, I suggest you just skip the beginner class and go straight on to the advanced class. The advanced class is on a Monday in the morning. The beginner class is on a Tuesday in the morning. The times might have changed, so double check with Uber. Go along to the Green Light Hub and ask if you can attend and pre-book. Sometimes a pre-booking is way in advance, so then you can do what's called a turn up. If you turn up, you have to be at that address by 7 or 7:30 in the morning, because they only take the first 10 to 15, depending on how many people have already pre-booked. There's only about 20 to 25 seats, so make sure that if you don't get a book time, or if it's too far away, say a month ahead of time, and you don't want to wait that long, just go along in the morning. Make sure you're one of the first people sitting outside that front door, and then when they open, you go in, and then you can pre-book or take a walk in after the pre-books have gone through theirs. Do the beginners class if you need to. If English is not your first language, do the beginners class first, then do the advanced class. But please do double check with Uber the times and dates, because they might have changed. So you've done modules 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. You've done the online mock test. You may go along to Uber and do the beginner class and the advanced class. Then you're ready to put in for your topographical test, or the topographical skills assessment as it's called. Make sure you wait until TfL tell you to do that. Then you'll be given 7 centres to choose from. Now, Uber is the cheapest, but they also got the longest waiting time. So make sure if you've got the time to wait, then you can. If you can't wait that long, go through them all. They'll ask you to go, when you phone up, they'll ask you to give the centre name, and then they'll give you the date that's available. They'll ask you to confirm. You say, no, can you please try this one? You give the next name. They won't go through them for you. You have to give them the names of the centre that you want. When you get the date that you want, they then ask you to confirm. Once you confirm, you only have 24 hours to cancel. So make sure when you do confirm, that is the one you want. Go along to the test. You've got 2 hours to take the test. Plenty of time. Take your time. Do it in the order that I suggested. And therefore, if you don't finish by the end, then at least you've only got 10 marks to lose. You don't have to do it in that order. You can do it in any order you want. You could do it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you wish. It's up to yourself. I'm only suggesting the way I did it, and I've got 84%. So I passed. If you want to get in contact with me, you can contact me on my Discord. The link is down below. And there's a page in there where you can have one-to-one with me if you wish. If you want additional training, I would suggest go to Capstar in Brentford. They're a bit further away, but at least it's run by ex-police, ex-military, and they're the highest pass rate, they tell me, for students. So, but places do charge from about £100 per module. So just be aware that if English is your first language, you probably don't need that. If English is not your first language, maybe you do need that. But like I say, if you want to have additional training with me, you can. I can only tell you how I did it. I mean, I'm no expert in this. Disclaimer, I'm only telling you how I did it, and I got 84%. So make sure that you always do your own due diligence and make sure that everything works for you. So that's me, Cabby 007, on the topographical test. Hope you pass. If you do pass and this video has been helpful, hit me up on Patreon. It's $1. Just send me $1. Say thanks. Send me $3 and I'll mention you on my next video. And you can also, like I say, join my Discord. Or if you want to be a YouTube supporter, you can support me on YouTube and help me with my vlogging and me becoming a private hire driver, and also moving on to become a London taxi driver. So I'm Cabby 007. Hope you pass. Hope this video has been useful to you. Thanks for watching.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, share and comment down below.